Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. As some of you might know, I'm Tony from Mercy St. Luke's Family Medicine Residency. And as we do the third Wednesday of each month, give a talk on a different medical topic. And today we're going to talk about heat and summer precautions as we get older. As I mentioned earlier, I prepare these talks a year in advance. So I put this together last May, not knowing that in June of 2024, we were going to be in a heat dome and kind of leading to a heat wave here. So it's kind of timely. And as I also said before, when I prepare these talks, I try and learn something new myself so that I can share something new, because some of this is going to be review, but hopefully you take away a couple of points today to keep yourself safe and healthy during these warmer times. So why worry about heat? The main reason is because older adults don't adjust well to sudden increases in temperature. In a typical year, over 600 older Americans will die from heat-related injuries, and we're going to talk about some of those. And I can already tell that in the early stages of this heat, it's affecting some people. Part of my job is I work over at Mercy Perrysburg Hospital, and we had somebody come in that was being treated for heat-related injuries just while they were pumping gas. So you don't have to be doing something too strenuous for the heat and humidity's reaction to your body getting the best of you and needing medical attention. One thing that I found out in preparing for this talk that I found pretty interesting is we have over 4 million sweat glands in our body. I don't know who gets tasked with counting all those, but actually there's two different types of sweat glands, and I won't go into the details of that, but one of them is the one that produces body odor, and then the other one it has a separate purpose. But it's a common fact that men sweat more than women. So hopefully some men hear this talk that they are able to take away some points from this as well. There's a part of our brain, there's different parts of our brain, there's different lobes in that, but there's a part of our brain called the hypothalamus. And that is the area of the brain that controls our body temperature. So it regulates our sweat output and our body flow in our skin. But body heat and becoming overheated creates many changes in the body. Heat increases our metabolism, and it causes our body to become more hydrated. So you're going to hear me say over and over about hydration or dehydration and the importance of staying hydrated. Be it with water or flavored waters or something like that, but we want to talk about some things that we want to avoid. So when it does get hotter and days like this and weeks like this, our body tries to cool itself down in a couple of different ways. The first thing is by sweat. So we see fluid, trying to escape our bodies, but then it goes away in terms of evaporation. The other thing is vasodilation. So this is when our skin opens up when our body opens up its blood vessels to try and use it kind of like a thermostat to cool our bodies down. But both of these become less effective with age, and I think that's important to know. For earlier parts of your life, you may have had an easier time of being able to go outside and not have the hot weather get the best of you. But as we get older, these types of things like sweat and vasodilation kind of change a little bit, and our body's temperatures start to rise. So on days with high humidity like today, our body's trying to cool itself down, but the more we sweat, the more easily we become hydrated. And I think I kind of said that in a couple of different ways, but hopefully that's a takeaway message here. So heat-related illness is made worse by multiple medical problems, and I think that they talk a lot about on the news of way to keep yourselves cool and everything, but one of the things they don't talk about is you and I are going to differ in terms of being able to relate to the heat and humidity for a couple of different reasons. Number one, our body makeup, but number two, our medical conditions. And the third thing is medications, what we're going to talk about. But as you can see here, medical problems like alcoholism, heart disease, diabetes, obesity, so people that are a little bit heavier, high blood pressure, thyroid, those are things that definitely put people at higher risk. COPD, asthma, and mental health issues. People that have issues related to depression and anxiety, believe it or not, have a tougher time when we have issues of heat and humidity because of the medications that they're on. Because some medications, and I think this is important to note, some medications increase sweating and some medications decrease sweating. So as we know, and I mentioned earlier, when our body's trying to sweat to regulate our body temperature, those medications will have an effect. So I've mentioned some different medical conditions, but certainly medications, as I said, have an effect, particularly heart and blood pressure medications. And the reason for that is most heart and blood pressure medications are a diuretic. So these are things that try and help our body excrete fluids so that we're not fluid overloaded. What does that mean? We become more easily dehydrated. A lot of times when you're looking at April, May, June, the pollen starts to go up. There's other things out there in the environment that cause us to be a little bit more congested and everything. When people go on anti-congestants, allergy pills, antihistamines, all those things, like the other medications, have an effect on the body. As I mentioned up here a little bit earlier, in terms of people that have issues of vomiting and diarrhea, those are just two more ways that fluids excrete from our bodies and certainly put us at higher risk for dehydration. And then, as I said before, the antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds have an effect. So what can happen? I've listed some different type of heat-related injuries. Having worked in the ER at a couple of hospitals, I've seen a lot of this, particularly during the winter months. But the very first thing that I probably should have listed is sunburn, because we are out in there for a period of time, and sunburn has different stages, first, second, third degree types of burns. So we want to make sure we're taking care of our skin. We sometimes do a fairly good job of, applying to our arms and legs and everything, but our forehead, the tips of our nose, around our ears and around our lips are probably the most vulnerable when it comes to sunburn, because these are the parts of our skin that are the thinnest on our bodies. So you got to make sure that when you're trying to apply some sunscreen, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit, you're really applying it well and rubbing it in well to those parts of the body. Because we also know that extended or repeated sun exposure can also lead to skin cancer, which is one of the #1 types of cancer that people experience. The next type of heat-related injury is heat edema. This is where edema basically means swelling. So we see a lot of this in our legs and our feet, particularly people who have heart-related conditions or respiratory-related conditions, because it's harder for them to excrete the fluid from their bodies. So if you're seeing a lot of increased swelling, What you want to do is obviously stay cool, but then prop your feet whenever possible. Because if all that fluid is down here, we need to somehow get it back to the central location of our body so that our kidneys and that can help excrete that from our bodies. So make sure you're doing something like that. The next thing is heat cramps. This occurs when we have increased sweating and it leads to dehydration. So I'm a person who, despite getting hydrated, have problems related to heat cramps. So in addition to staying hydrated with things like water, I need to take additional medications like magnesium and vitamin D, certain type of vitamin D to help me. But you're going to start to see when you have dehydration, have a lot of muscle spasms, particularly in your calves or on your sides, your abdomen. But you need to make sure that you don't allow that to just be something that you say, oh, it's going to go away in time, because it can lead to elevated temperatures, elevated heart rate. So again, you want to make sure you hydrate, but if you are cramping, try and get to a cool area. And the other thing that probably helps a lot of people is doing some gentle massaging to those areas where you're experiencing cramping. The next one would be heat exhaustion. So now we start to get into between heat exhaustion and heat stroke, where our body temperature starts to get over 100 degrees. And this is where it starts to become more of a significant medical concern, because these two types of medical conditions or heat-related conditions might warrant you having to go to the hospital for additional treatment. But so again, heat exhaustion is when your body temperature gets to be over 100, but just up to 104. You're going to see things like cramping, sweating, elevated heart rate. People are going to just start to say, I'm not feeling well all over. I'm having headache. I'm having muscle fatigue. This is where you're also going to experience low blood pressure. So you're going to have this feeling of lightheadedness or possibly passing out. You're going to see some people have confusion and irritability. So if this happens, which you again want to get these people to a cooler environment, these are people, in addition to getting them, plenty of water, is trying to apply cool wet cloths to their body. So we're trying to reduce how high their body temperature is. And if somebody's getting to the point of not improving and increased confusion, we definitely want to get to them to the ER, because what's happening is the things we're trying to control, the body isn't responding to. The body is staying at a level of about 104 plus, and this can lead to heat stroke. Heat stroke, just like other stroke, and we talked about this, might have been about a month or two ago, just stroke in general. It's something that needs to be treated very quickly. It's the most serious of all the heat-related injuries. It's the one that causes the most amount of deaths. And other symptoms include seizures and coma. So obviously a lot more serious, but the thing that is also concerning is our bodies start to shut down at this point in time. So we experience organ failure, liver failure, kidney failure, heart failure. We start to have abnormal, because we're having heart failure, abnormal heart rhythms, decreased blood pressure, and the other problem is we start to have a lot of muscle breakdown. So there's some things that we need to. This is a 911 type of situation. I say these things because it's not just about you and what you might be experiencing for a heat-related injury, but if you're going to be going outside and you're seeing somebody else that that's been outside for a period of time and they're just not acting normal or the way we typically know them to be. So Some tips that we want to kind of focus on during the warmer weather. And again, a lot of this is stuff we already know, but just to add a couple things, obviously paying attention to the weather. Knowing when we are in what they call a heat dome right now with the heat advisory, they always talk about two different things, what the actual temperature is going to be and what the heat index is going to be. So the temperature might be around 92, 93, but the heat index, or what it actually feels like outside, is going to be closer to 100. So we really want to watch these things. The other thing is taking a look at the time of day we're doing something. I hope at least this week, most of us, if we're going to be doing anything outside, is going to be before 10 a.m. You know, growing up, I always remember they said, well, the hottest times of the day is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. But it just seems like the last couple of decades, if you watch it, the temperature is still going up at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. So really not until about, 7 or 8 p.m. is it a little bit more safe to go outside. But if you are going to go out, make sure you're hydrated, wearing light colored, loose fitting clothing, something I did not do today. Trying to know where the shaded areas are going to be. If you're going to be doing any strenuous activities, like walking at a faster pace or doing some gardening or cutting your grass, try and avoid doing those between the hours that I mentioned. And try and stay inside. Very fortunate out here in Wood County to have facilities like this, the senior center, and being able to come and take advantage of some activities. Some people live in older homes, so they don't have, good air conditioning or central air. So it's a good thing to come to a place like this during the daylight hours. Making sure that you are trying to take cooler baths and showers. A lot of people like the warmer ones. But it says stay indoors as much as possible with fans or air conditioning. I would kind of throw caution to the wind when it comes to fans, because fans are just basically blowing the warm, hot air back at you. And then the other thing is sunscreen. A lot of times when we use sunscreen, there's something called an SPF, or sun protection factor. We definitely want to use something that's 30 or higher. They sell ones that are 50. They sell ones that are 75. Those are a lot more expensive. If you have the ability to purchase something like that, by all means, you can. But if you're using at least SPF 30 and applying it at least every couple of hours, you'll be fine. The other thing is, typically, unless you get the travel size, they sell a lot of these sunscreens in larger tubes. Well, during the course of the summer, for one person, we may not necessarily go through that whole tube. So it's going to sit until the next year. Just like vitamins, we're going to talk about vitamins and supplements next month. I think that's the topic. Things expire over time. That doesn't mean after, come summer of 2025 to throw that away. It's probably still good. It just doesn't have as much effectiveness as it would have had you bought it this year. So you might need to apply it just a little bit more regularly in that. My other take-home message that I don't have on here, but I probably should add it, is if you're going to be going outside and you're going to be going out for a period of time, let somebody know you're going to be doing that, because you may, talk to a family member or a friend and say, well, I'm going to go out and work in my garden for a little bit. And that's a good thing, because they'll know if it was 9 o'clock in the morning and now it's 11 o'clock and they haven't heard from you, something might be wrong. The other thing is, a lot of older individuals live in older homes that aren't well ventilated and able to stay cool in that. So if you do have friends and family that live in older homes, give them a call, like on a daily basis. Number one, socialization is good, but number two, you're just checking on them to make sure that they're doing okay. kind of a brief overview, but hopefully, there were a couple of things here that, you might find, informative and something to just keep you safe and well during the warmer months. Any questions? Okay, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate you listening. Like I said, next month, I do believe is. And you know what? You're absolutely right. It'll kind of be a nice tie-in. Taking care of your skin. Vitamin and supplements are in August. Thank you. So, appreciate your time. Have a happy, healthy month, and I'll see you in July.